73 years old. Saturday morning. Crawling under a stranger's HVAC unit for $75 an hour. That's Frank. 41 years of hard labor. A paid-off house. A retirement he planned for. And somehow, quietly, purchase by purchase, it slipped through his hands before he ever saw it going. Frank didn't gamble it away. He didn't get scammed. He made 8 purchases that felt completely reasonable at the time. Normal purchases. Justified purchases. The kind every financial advisor in America watched him make and said nothing about. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. The wealthiest retirees in this country, people sitting on $1 to $2 million in investable assets, stopped making those same 8 purchases. Quietly. No announcement. No sacrifice. They just stopped. And the gap that created between their retirement and Frank's is not a gap in income. It's a gap in 8 specific decisions. The Federal Reserve's 2022 Consumer Finance Survey puts the median retirement savings for Americans aged 55 to 64 at $185,000. The recommended target for that age group is $1.2 to $1.5 million. That's not a rounding error. That's a canyon. And it didn't open up because people didn't earn enough, it opened up because of patterns. Patterns that feel like living, not like losing. At least one thing on this list is something you bought last month, are paying for right now, or have already rationalized for next year. By the time we get there, that rationalization won't survive the math. And number 1 on this list, I'm telling you up front, is not a product. Not a service. Not anything you'd find on a receipt. But it is the single most destructive force in American retirement accounts today. We'll get there. If you've ever stared at your retirement balance and felt that low hum of, is this actually going to be enough, subscribe right now. That question is exactly what this channel is built to answer. Honest numbers. Real behavior. No filler. This isn't a list of obvious mistakes. It's a behavioral autopsy of how responsible, hardworking Americans quietly unwind decades of savings, not through recklessness, but through patterns hiding inside decisions that feel completely normal. Every number in this video is sourced, Federal Reserve, Bureau of Labor Statistics, peer-reviewed research. And one calculation hiding inside one of these 8 items is something most financially literate people have never actually run to the end. When we get to it, pause the video. Do the math yourself. By the time we reach number 1, this video stops being about money entirely. That shift is worth more than everything else combined. Purchase number 8, the new car addiction. Frank bought a new F-150 every 4 years from age 42 to 68. Each one earned. Each one deserved. Each one a $52,000 trophy for decades of crawling through attics in July. His neighbor Dale, a retired school principal, drives a 2016 Toyota Camry with 94,000 miles and a dent above the rear tire he's never bothered to fix. Last spring, Dale wrote a $35,000 check to help his granddaughter with a down payment. From cash. Without blinking. 5 years into retirement, Frank is doing weekend service calls because the savings ran thin. Here's the math. A new pickup in 2024 averages $52,000 at transaction. That's Cox Automotive's number, not the sticker. It loses $12,000 to $16,000 in value within the first 12 months alone. For new truck cycles over a 25-year retirement, with the difference invested at a conservative 6% return, consumes an estimated $200,000 to $280,000 in retirement capital. That's not a lifestyle choice. That's $250,000 handed back to the dealership, decade by decade, in exchange for that new car smell that lasts about 6 weeks. Wealthy retirees don't stop buying cars. They stop buying the feeling of deserving a new one. That single shift is worth $250,000 over the course of a retirement. Frank's story isn't finished. We'll come back to him at number 1, and what we find out will completely reframe why he kept buying trucks. Purchase number 7, the extended warranty trap. Most people already know extended warranties are a bad deal. What almost nobody knows is the specific reason wealthy retirees stopped buying them, and it has nothing to do with the warranty itself. Brenda, a retired office manager from Naperville, spent $3,800 on extended warranties over her final decade of working. She filed claims totaling $340. That's a personal return rate of about 9 cents on the dollar, which would get a fund manager fired. Consumer Reports shows extended warranties return 12 to 20 cents on the dollar to the consumer. The retailer captures 50 to 80% profit margin on the protection plan, higher than the product itself. The average American household spends $450 to $600 every year insuring appliances they replace before the warranty activates. Meanwhile, Brenda's real uninsured risk, the one actually keeping her up at night, is a single hospitalization. Without adequate Medicare supplemental coverage, that event costs $35,000 to $90,000 out of pocket. She's fully covered if the dishwasher breaks. Completely exposed if her body does. Self-insure what you can replace. Insure against what you can't survive. The gap between those two categories is where retirement security actually lives. Purchase number 6, the Renovation Spiral. Carol and Michael, a retired teacher and banker from Scottsdale, spent $147,000 in their first 3 years of retirement on renovations: new kitchen, master bath, fresh flooring, resurfaced pool deck. Beautiful work. Their kitchen has quartz countertops with the specific gray owl veining that was trending in 2022. Their Zillow estimate shows the home has appreciated $31,000 since the renovations were completed. They spent $147,000 to gain $31,000. The 2024 Remodeling Magazine Cost versus Value report puts the average kitchen remodel recoup rate at 38.9 cents on the dollar. Bathroom addition, 35.1 cents. For every $100,000 poured into making the house a dream home, roughly $62,000 disappears permanently from the portfolio. The same $147,000 invested at a 7% historical average grows to approximately $310,000 over 15 years. Carol and Michael chose gray owl quartz over $310,000. The house doesn't care how much they love it, it sells for what the market says, not what the renovation cost. A home is where you live, not where you invest. Confusing those two things is one of the most expensive mistakes in American retirement. Purchase number 5, the Status Symbol Spiral. Victor, a retired marketing executive from Greenwich, wore a Rolex Submariner for 28 years of his career. Bought at 42 for $9,500. In rooms full of executives, it genuinely communicated earned belonging before he said a word. That watch had a real return on investment. In retirement, Victor no longer attends those rooms. But in his first 5 years after leaving his corner office, he spent $74,000 on luxury goods, a new Rolex, Hermes accessories, custom suits, a Louis Vuitton duffel that travels to the same 3 places every year. That $74,000, compounded at 7% over 20 years, is approximately $286,000 in foregone retirement capital. The price of an audience that stopped watching. Here's how this plays out across 3 stages. Stage 1. You buy status symbols because you're building credibility and every signal matters. Stage 2. You keep buying them because the habit is set and stopping feels like admitting something. Stage 3. The wealthy retiree stage, you stop entirely. Not because you can't afford them. Because you finally realize the only person whose opinion of you matters at 70 is you. Most people watching this are somewhere between stage 2 and stage 3. The distance between them isn't income. It's the moment you stop needing the room to notice. His neighbor George, a retired high school football coach with a net worth of $1.7 million, wears a $180 Citizen Eco Drive he bought in 2009. Never replaced it. His retirement account has compounded quietly for 14 years while Victor's has been partially funding the Swiss watch industry. Tell me again who's winning. The most expensive thing a retiree can buy is the approval of people who stopped paying attention years ago. Real quick, if this is landing, hit the like button right now. It genuinely helps this video reach people who need to see it. And keep watching, because the next 3 items are where it gets uncomfortable. Purchase number 4, the expensive hobby trap. Jim, a retired surgeon from Naples, bought a 38-foot offshore fishing boat for $310,000 18 months into retirement. Slip fees, insurance, maintenance, fuel, depreciation, approximately $42,000 per year. He goes out roughly 22 times annually. That's $1,909 per fishing trip. A full-day charter in Naples runs $300 to $800. A 2023 Boat US Foundation study found that the average boat owner underestimates annual operating costs by 40 to 60%. The classic rule: budget 10% of purchase price annually for maintenance alone. On a $310,000 boat, that's $31,000 a year before a single gallon of fuel. Over 20 years, Jim's boat consumes an estimated $840,000 to $1.1 million in direct costs, not counting the purchase price. His neighbor Ron, a retired civil engineer with $1.9 million in investable assets, charters 6 times a year at $600 a trip. Spends $3,600 total. Uses the $38,400 annual difference to fund the travel that actually fills his retirement. Jim has a magnificent boat. Ron has a magnificent retirement. Tell me again who made the smarter call. The hobbies that quietly destroy retirement accounts share 3 traits: high fixed costs, high variable costs, and a status component that makes the spending feel earned rather than excessive. The presence of all 3 is a financial warning sign, not a lifestyle choice. Purchase number 3, the financial advisor fee drain. Buckle up. This one is going to ruffle some feathers. Patricia, a retired nurse practitioner from Charlotte, has trusted her financial advisor Gary for 19 years. He calls when the market drops. He sends holiday cards. He charges 1.1% annually on her $1.2 million portfolio. Patricia has never run the actual number. Here it is. This is the calculation I told you to pause for. 1.1% on $1.2 million is $13,200 in year 1. Manageable, right? But the real cost is the compounding drag. The Vanguard Advisors Alpha Framework estimates that a 1% annual fee drag on a $1.2 million portfolio over 25 years, at 7% gross returns, results in approximately $680,000 in foregone wealth. Gary's 19 years of holiday cards have a price tag Patricia has never seen. And it has 6 figures in it. The alternative wealthy self-directed retirees actually use isn't complicated: 60 to 70% in low-cost total market index funds, Vanguard VTSAX, Fidelity FZROX, with expense ratios between 0.01% and 0.03%. 20 to 30% in bond index funds. 10% cash. Total annual management cost, under $150 on a $1.2 million portfolio. A NAPFA certified fee-only fiduciary planner charges $200 to $400 per hour. 2 sessions a year costs roughly $600. Gary costs $13,200. Every year. Forever. Gary isn't the villain. The structure is. You might decide a full-service advisor is still worth it for your situation, but at least now you know exactly what you're actually paying for. Patricia's brother-in-law Dennis, a retired logistics manager from Indianapolis with zero financial background, moved his $890,000 rollover into a 3-fund Fidelity portfolio 4 years ago, pays $89 a year in fees, and checks it twice annually. His returns have tracked the market. His fees have not tracked Gary's. Tell me again who needed the professional. The price of financial advice should be measured in dollars paid, not in comfort received. Those are 2 very different numbers. Purchase number 2, the family money drain. Dorothy, a retired bookkeeper from Memphis, has $290,000 saved and receives $1,840 a month in Social Security. Between 2019 and 2024, she quietly transferred $37,400 to her adult children, a down payment here, a car repair there, Christmas gifts that ran over, emergencies that felt impossible to refuse. Her fee-only financial planner told her last year that her current withdrawal rate, including family transfers, gives her a 67% probability of running out of money before age 87. Dorothy is 71. A 2022 Merrill Lynch and Age Wave study found that 79% of American parents over 50 have financially supported adult children in the past 5 years, average total gift of $39,000. And more than half reported it had a significant or moderate impact on their own retirement security. Technically, it's called a gift. Financially, it's a transfer of longevity risk from the people who have decades to recover it to the people who don't. Her neighbor Ruth, a retired librarian with $1.1 million saved, told her adult son directly at 65, "I love you completely. And I will not be funding your financial decisions, because the most damaging thing I can do for you long-term is spend my retirement solving your short-term problems and then become your financial problem at 85. Her son thought she was harsh. He has also never once worried about her running out of money. Tell me again whose children are actually better off. Protecting your retirement is not selfishness. It is the single most loving financial act you can perform for the people who will outlive you. Purchase number 1, the emotional spending loop. And here we are. The one I planted at the very beginning. The purchase that doesn't show up on a receipt, doesn't have a category in your budget, and has quietly done more damage to American retirement accounts than every other item on this list combined. The biggest threat to your retirement isn't inflation. It isn't a market crash. It isn't a bad advisor. It's compensatory consumption, buying to fill an emotional void, when your sense of identity goes quiet. And most people don't recognize it until the account statement makes it impossible to ignore. Remember Frank? Here's what the first item didn't tell you. Frank's wife Connie died of ovarian cancer in 2018. 6 weeks after the funeral, Frank bought a new truck. In 2020, a bass boat. He doesn't really like fishing. In 2021, a country club membership. He hates golf. In 2022, a full kitchen renovation. He eats most meals alone at the counter. Frank is not financially irresponsible. Frank is grieving. Frank is lonely. And spending creates a temporary dopamine spike that mimics anticipation and purpose, two things retirement and loss steal at exactly the same moment. A 2021 study in the Journal of Consumer Psychology found that compensatory consumption increases significantly in the first 3 years of retirement and after major life disruptions, death of a spouse, health diagnoses, loss of professional identity. The purchases cluster around identity artifacts, cars, status goods, home renovations. Things that temporarily restore a sense of self. The effect is short-lived. So the purchases escalate. That is the behavioral engine behind retirement wealth destruction in the United States. Picture a Tuesday afternoon in October. No meetings. No emails that need you. The house is quiet in a way that doesn't feel peaceful, it feels hollow. Somewhere between the second cup of coffee and 3 p.m., you open Amazon. Or you drive past the dealership. Or you start getting quotes for the deck. Not because you need any of it. Because the act of wanting something feels like having a reason to be here. That Tuesday afternoon is more dangerous to your retirement than any bear market in history. Here is the only tool that breaks the loop. Before any non-essential purchase over $200, ask yourself one question: am I buying a thing, or am I buying a feeling? If the answer is a feeling, name it out loud before you spend anything. Loneliness. Boredom. Grief. Invisibility. Naming it separates the emotion from the transaction. That separation is where the money stays. Frank's spending dropped $34,000 in year 1, not because he budgeted harder, but because he joined a grief support group, started mentoring young tradespeople, and started having dinner with his daughter's family twice a week. He stopped needing to buy. The wealthiest retirees in America are not people with better spreadsheets. They are people who found non-monetary sources of meaning before the silence got loud. The greatest threat to my retirement wasn't the market crash of 2022. It was a Tuesday afternoon in October when I had nothing to do and felt completely invisible. Here's what every single item on this list has in common: from the truck to the warranty to the kitchen to the advisor fee to the family transfers. Every one of them is a purchase made in response to a feeling, dressed up as a financial decision. The truck says I've earned this. The warranty says I'm afraid. The renovation says this is finally mine. The advisor says someone else has this under control. The family money says I'm still needed. Every single one. Feelings, wearing price tags. I'll be honest, I'm guilty of at least 2 of these myself. The Gary situation hit closer to home than I'd like to admit. No judgment here. These are not the mistakes of careless people. They are the mistakes of human ones. Tell me in the comments which one hits closest to home for you. I read every single one, and the answers people leave on videos like this are usually more honest than anything I could write in a script. If this kind of real, number-first content is what you've been looking for, subscribe. It gets more honest from here, not less. There's one more piece to this conversation that this video doesn't cover: what wealthy retirees actually do with the money they stop spending on these 8 things. The answer is not what most financial channels will tell you, and it changes the math on everything we just discussed. That video is already on this channel. If you leave now, you'll have half the picture. Frank is doing fewer weekend service calls now. Not because the market recovered. Not because he finally built the perfect budget. Because he figured out what he was actually shopping for. Once you know that about yourself, really know it, the purchases that were slowly draining the account start to look a lot less necessary. Take care of yourself. Seriously.